Metal Pools, official pool service provider of the Dallas Cowboys.
Now, here's Eric Chiafalo and Brian Broaddus.
Oh, sweet, sweet playoffs. How amazing is this, Brian Broaddus? A game day here in the Metroplex, Cowboys and Niners, and it's all about redemption. You get to go into San Francisco today and put it to the team that did it to you last year about this time in the playoffs, man. This is absolutely fantastic. What an honor it is to be here with the Tolos and with you, Super Bowl champion Brian Broaddus. How are the nerves feeling right now? As a Super Bowl champion, you don't even get nervous for these games anymore, do you? You're just rock solid, feeling good?
No, you really don't, because...
Or are you about to puke like me?
Nah, there's really no reason to get nervous. It's one of those situations where, as a fan, yeah, you're excited and you're anxious and all that, but, the one thing that I've learned is over the years is that the players decide these games, and I asked this question of Stephen Jones this week about, as a personnel guy, do you feel like you got, did you do everything you could to help your team win this game? Did you do everything by, the 24/7 job of looking at players and practice squads and, manipulation of the roster? You feel like you did everything you could, because that's all you can really do right now. And as a fan base, yeah, you're excited, but you're just, it's going to come down to the players. Are your players better than their players? Are you going to catch a break or two? Are you going to get a turnover you didn't expect? Are you going to get a performance from a player that you didn't expect? And you mentioned early, a guy like Turpin, somebody like that you really haven't talked about all week. I mean, we've gone into great detail about the great players that the 49ers have and the Cowboys have and how you try and match. But who is the player that's, player 45, player 46, player 47 on that game day, activation roster where he's out there and then all of a sudden it's boom, there's that play. But you mentioned block punt return, fumble recovery, on a special teams play. Maybe a guy, when it comes down the end of the game, it's an onside kick and it's, you recover that. There's just so many things that these games are just, that's what makes them so unique. I think there's your two evenly matched teams. I just feel like, though, we'll see which teams, maybe that little bit of that break, that little bit of a depth at a certain position or on the roster, that might be the difference between you going home or going on to Philadelphia.
No question about it. What a historical day it is, man. I mean, this really is just absolutely special, and I don't want to take any moment for granted over the next 3 hours as we rock and roll on the official pregame party of America's team, and knowing that there is already so much history that has been made with these two franchises, and then you have last year, and now it's redemption time. And this Cowboys team has talked about it since the day they went home in round one last year. This team has talked about the Niners. They've talked about the things that the added ingredients that they were going to need in order to take down a foe like the Niners, and the physicality and the toughness. And do you feel like they've done the necessary things? You talk about, hey, you add the players, you do all the stuff you're supposed to do. Now the hay's in the barn. They've done everything, right? They've done enough. They've talked about it, and it feels like they've walked that walk a little bit.
They have. You look at the players that they've added, and especially a guy like with Hankins, with his ability and how he's been able to hold up. That's a trade that they make. They realize, hey, we're not very good inside against the running game. You go out and you add a Tyler Smith at tackle. Tyler Smith has done a tremendous job. Playing, whether he's played offensive tackle, where he's played guard, that's a tough physical guy for a rookie. How about getting Tyron Smith back and adding that to, on the right side? I mean, we're all thinking like, okay, he's got to play left side only, but what happens? You move him over to the right side. So you're doing everything in your power to try and combat what's going on with that San Francisco 49er defense. And we're going to get into this for the next, 3 hours about how if you block their front, there's ways to make plays. I was on some national shows this morning, and I was on with Mike Lombardi, and Michael Lombardi, the first thing out of the gate, he says, listen, you block their front, much like we've been saying all week, you can make plays on this secondary. So, the physicality that you talk about, the ability to tackle, Wilson, Curse, Van Der Esch, Hankins, those guys, like Bland, these guys are going to have to come bring it. Tank Lawrence, these guys are going to have to bring it on defense because, like I say, their playoff livelihoods are really on the line today. They cannot let San Francisco bully them in this football game. And on the offensive side of the ball, they have to bully the San Francisco defense. They have to block well in the passing game for opportunities to throw the ball down the field. And when it comes time to run, not every run is going to be an 18-yard run. But, there's going to be some 3- and 4-yard runs in this game that are going to be crucial. And that's about being physical up front.
You don't need a complicated play to bring it into the end zone. That's why you should trust the team at blockchain.com to make buying, selling, and trading crypto easy. Play smarter, not harder with blockchain.com. 877-881-1053. What's the confidence meter? Where are the nerves right now? Shout out to the 864 listening live from Charlotte, North Carolina. Go Cowboys. Give them hell, Brian. So we got some love coming in. We got Chert in SoCal checking in as well. What's the confidence meter? Where are we at here? And in terms of from a tailgate standpoint, what's the game day plan right now? I want to hear the spreads. What are we eating across the Metroplex and across the United States? Because I know Cowboys Nation stretches far and wide. What's the thing that interests you most about this game? For me, Shanahan versus Quinn, I can't get enough of that. And I'm super excited to see how that all kind of plays itself out. These two coaches that know each other extremely well. But I feel like Dan Quinn's evolved quite a bit since being the head coach for Atlanta, and Kyle Shanahan was his play caller.
No, it has. And that's, Kyle Shanahan does a tremendous job. And, he essentially is, I know John Lynch has general manager as title to his job, but essentially Kyle Shanahan is the general manager of that football team. And, he's going to go out and he's going to get the players that he wants. He's going to manipulate his roster like we talked about, make some moves. One of the big moves was going out and getting Christian McCaffrey. I mean, Christian McCaffrey is a tremendous football player. He's done a great job. They've brought him in to the lineup. He's a hard guy to tackle. He's a hard guy to defend in the passing game. He runs the ball, the screens, everything about him. He's just such a weapon. And that's what you got to have. I mean, that's identifying your issues and saying, okay, this guy would put us over the top. They gave up a lot for him, but man, he has paid off so well for them right now. And that's the reason why you can have a rookie quarterback and be able to play the way you do. You're winning games with a rookie quarterback just because of the talent around him. But you're right, the matchup. Dan Quinn knows Kyle Shanahan well. There's going to be something that Dan is going to do to Kyle that Kyle is going to, on the sidelines, when he looks at the pad, it's going to go, man, okay. I should have figured that one out.
Right.
It's going to be a back and forth. Like I say, when you're dealing with a coach like Kyle Shanahan that moves personnel, that takes a fullback and puts him out wide and puts a running back next to him, and then brings a wide receiver in as a running back. Now you're messing with scheme. Now you're messing with how a defense is going to align you. And that's the great thing about Kyle Shanahan is he makes you not only defend the width of the field, but he makes you horizontally as well and vertically. The way that all of a sudden the screens, the down the field plays, the running plays, it's a handful to have to deal with him. But that's why they're both in the playoffs right now, and that's why we're in the divisional game with a chance to go and play for the championship next week.
Man, and I'm really excited to see how this thing starts off because last year Kyle Shanahan got the best of Dan Quinn early on, first two possessions or so, and then defensively Dan Quinn adjusts some things, and the game slowed down for him in a big way, and it felt like for at least the second half, the Cowboy defense had figured out what it was Kyle Shanahan was trying to do. And so I'm excited to see how this one comes out tonight. Is it Dan Quinn and his defense getting a couple of early stops and Shanahan having to go to the drawing board? Like, holy smokes, what are we working with here? Because it feels like it was the opposite last year where Shanahan and company, they were running the ball well. They went down, they scored, and then it was like, okay, let's adjust some things. And that's what Dan Quinn and his coaching staff has done extremely well over the last 2 years, which is they're not just going to sit in something that ain't working.
No, they're not. And one of the great things that we noticed last week was the addition of Israel Mukuamu to the lineup, and so I think you're going to continue to see, Dan Quinn trying to shuttle personnel, trying to figure out, listen, the one thing we were talking about with Shanahan is he is going to make you defend the field. And if you try and match him and he's going to take traditional pieces and move them outside, well, he's going to make you remove. Are you going to treat these fullbacks and running backs as wide receivers, or are you going to treat them as how are you going to treat? So all of a sudden you start moving pieces around, and Dan cannot fall in that trap. That's the thing about it is all of a sudden you're moving pieces to defend. Like Kyle Shanahan is not, like I say, the ball could go to the outside on the screen. He could throw it to Juszczyk. He could throw it on a screen to the outside over there, or he could just say, listen, I'm making you take pieces away from that area and I'm going to run the ball or throw the ball into that area where you're not defending it, where your best players are now defending, a total, an area where, it's not even going to be a factor in the play. So that's where the chess match comes in. Your ability. Dan Quinn's got to, I think, find a way today it's not just going to be about Micah Parsons, rushing. It's going to be about putting Tank and Mike on the same side and making McGlinchey and those guys off that right side kind of like sort twists out over there. Or maybe what happens is you got Parsons them over on one side, and then you're bringing the slot blitz from the backside. Mm-hmm. Brock Purdy is going to say, okay, Micah Parsons, I think I have him accounted for. But then all of a sudden, here you go. Here are the blitzes, safety blitzes, slot blitzes. Those are some plays that if you get home and knock the ball out of Brock Purdy's hand and then get turnovers right there, that could be the difference in the game.
No question about it. It's the official pregame show of America's Team, brought to you by Reliant and NRG Company. Shout out to Paul in Pennsylvania. Confidence is 8 out of 10 right now. Feeling fantastic. Wings, chicken, tacos, little Miller Lite, ready to dominate the Niners today. Appreciate you hanging out with us. We got Rockford, Illinois checking in as well, doing the Jack Daniels thing, sitting on that smoker, ready to crush some good brisket. We got Richmond, Virginia, the honey sriracha wings are making an appearance right here. And it seems like, and also shout out from Farmers Branch right here locally, hanging out in the pregame. Appreciate you, Sabi. But what you also have is the people that right now are a little bit concerned. It's just with the kicker. Are you feeling good about Maher right now? You feel like we're going to show where he's going to show up like normal?
No, they didn't elevate they didn't bring up the practice squad kicker. So obviously what they saw during the week, I know from my own eyes. I was not out there for the media portion of it, back here doing the show from the studio. Media portion during the week, 6 for 6, moving the ball around, gusty, swirly winds on grass, making those field goals. That at least makes me feel a little bit better. I'll feel a lot better, when we start to get reports from the field. Trust me, Brett Maher is going to be the most watched workout today. Mm-hmm. Just follow along on Twitter, and we'll see with Christy Scales, and she'll give us that field report. And it looked like a beautiful morning, seeing some of the early indications of what the game could be today. The fact he made 6 for 6, the fact that they didn't elevate the practice squad kicker to the 48, I think that's a good sign going forward.
We're just getting started here on the official pregame show of America's Team. The countdown to kickoff is underway. Cowboys and Niners. It really does not get any better than this. 877-881-1053. Let's look back at what happened yesterday in some of the playoff games, and we'll continue to break this matchup down. The player profile, Ezekiel Elliott. What's the plan for Zeke and Pollard today? We'll ask Broadus next right here on The Fan. Looks like brisket's being eaten right now in Euless. Shout out to the 203. Absolutely. Are we doing the superstitious stuff? I know Broadus and I are. Like, if you're listening right now, are you wearing the exact same clothes you were wearing this time I guess it was on Monday? Monday late afternoon, Monday evening, all the way down to the undies, Broadus. Confirm it right now.
I do. It's funny. I got the same white T-shirt, the same long sleeve white shirt, everything. Yeah. We're good.
Looking svelte, looking dapper,
I
looking
don't know
like
about
it.
that,
No, it's a business occasion, baby. You're ready to rock and roll.
I don't know, man. I was just like, it was a little more chilly than it was on Monday.
Yeah,
Monday.
I agree.
Yeah.
The wind out here today in the DFW.
I had to break out the vest, but I took the vest off just because I didn't want to I am superstitious in a way.
Yeah.
I really am.
Same here, man.
I just felt like, okay, because
we got to do our part, Broadus. This is our role in the game.
Absolutely. You got to do whatever you can. You can't play the game, but you can do what your part that you think will help the game.
100%. My wife was looking at me today like, seriously? And I'm like scrambling around like, yes, I need the same shirt. I need the same pants, the undies, the socks. I had mismatched socks on Monday. Doing it again today, Broadus.
There you go.
That's how we roll. All right, let's talk some football. But first, let's welcome in Ezekiel Elliott for today's player profile with Chris Arnold. Take it away, Chris.
Zeke, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing good. What's going on?
All right, you guys have taken the next step. Divisional round. You got the 49ers. I know y'all are hyped for this because it's another step in the playoffs, but y'all actually met them in the playoffs last year. Does that have any influence on the feelings in this locker room?
I think we trying to put everything from last year behind us. I mean, yeah, we carry that with us, but it's a new year. We got a new team, and we're looking to make our mark this playoffs.
Let's talk about Dak. He did one of the greatest Cowboys quarterback performances ever against Tom Brady, the Buccaneers, that defense for the Buccaneers. I mean, he put on one heck of a performance. That's your guy. Can you talk about what you were feeling for him?
I'm super happy, super excited for him. Just the way he came out and performed in that playoff win. It means a lot for this team. I know it means a lot for his confidence. So it's going to be good for us going forward.
Now, Tampa Bay got that tough defensive line, but so did the 49ers. Y'all were able to get some yards. Can you talk about your offensive line and the holes they were able to for you and TP, and you getting them dirty yards?
O-line play really good football. Tampa Bay like to stack the box, so running the ball against them, it's not going to be easy.
Vita Vea.
But a lot of it is just, getting those rush attempts, getting to play in those eight-man boxes so we can, take advantage of that and throw some play action.
All right. Dominating the clock. Offense, that one of the things y'all want to work on?
Definitely, we definitely want to try to give our defense as much rest as possible. Keep them off the field as much as possible because we know when those guys are rested, they're a tough bunch to deal with. So us as an offense, it's big for us to stay ahead of the change. Convert 30 downs and get those guys a break so they can be 100 when they get back on the field.
All right, not to give away the script or the game plan. Ain't nobody listening. Let's talk about these tight ends. Schultz and the whack-a-mole guys, they call themselves the Four Horsemen. Can you talk about how effective they've been, and do you think Kellen's got something up for them?
Those guys, they've been having a great year. They all work really hard, and it shows in their play. They all from Dalton to Dummy and Sean McKeon. They all work really hard, and they've been having a great year. And I think the game plan will be the game plan.
And finally, what you plan on doing before the game? You listening to any kind of music? You eating something special? You sitting in a hotel? It's early afternoon in San Francisco, but 5:30 in Dallas.
I always stay in the hotel. I stay locked in and order some Chinese food and listen to a little Uzi pregame.
That'll work. Good luck this evening.
All right, thank you.
That's fantastic. Cowboys running back Ezekiel Elliott and the three-time Hall of Famer, the legend himself, Chris Arnold, for today's player profile. Brought to you by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza, better lives. It is Papa John's, the official pizza of your Dallas Cowboys. And before we start talking Zeke and Tony here for a second, Broadus, let's go ahead and pause 10 seconds for station identification right here on your home of the Dallas Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas Fort Worth.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Broadus, last week in Tampa, Pollard had 18 touches overall. Zeke had 13, okay? So you have progress moving toward Pollard getting a little bit more of the load, especially at a time where on Zeke's last 40 carries, he's totaled 74 yards for a sub 2 yards a carry average, 1.8 yards per carry. Pollard, 77 yards on 15 carries, over 5 yards a pop last week versus a pretty solid Tampa run defense. Where do you see it going today? And where do you, because like Chris was just talking about it there with Zeke, you're talking about it here. You can't get bullied, the physicality, and that's sort of Zeke's MO. But we know Pollard is, at this point, I mean, he's the better player. I mean, that's just obvious. So, but where's the line here? Because you want that physicality from Zeke.
Yeah, you absolutely do, and I believe that both of them are going to play a role in today's game. And in talking to coaches around the league during the week that have played the 49ers, one of the big things that they mentioned is that they're very dependent on where the strength of your formation is, your Y being your tight end. And a coach told me, he said, listen, you can have some success if you set the Y away, and that's the tight end. Set the tight end away, and you create bubbles. And bubbles are the spaces where it's a down lineman and then a linebacker, and then you're not bringing an extra guy in. Say the tight end's over there, you're bringing an extra safety or a linebacker, somebody over to play in coverage. So if you see the Cowboys running the ball away from the tight end in this game, they're creating bubbles in order for them to run the ball. You just don't want to just, put the tight end to that side, and all of a sudden now there's an extra guy there to have to make it, it's going to make a tackle. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't be surprised one bit if we do see the Cowboys try some weak side runs today. I think the crack toss, that's the play where you either get like a Noah Brown or a wide receiver, can come down inside, you crack the linebacker, crack the edge, and then you get the offensive lineman up, you get a guard up, a tackle up. You have that ability to get the ball outside. I could see them trying to do that with Pollard, get him going in the running game, hit it quick, but again, create those bubbles in the San Francisco front. Maybe, the 49ers will figure out, okay, wait a minute, they're running weak side on us, and then they'll adjust. Well, when that happens, then go back to running the ball with the two behind the tight end. So it's a game you play. Right. When you figure me out one way, I'm going to do something the other way. But I just feel like they have to have a good running game today. It's going to be about perimeters, and it's going to be about running into that bubble.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. That's fantastic knowledge right there. And that is from a coach in the NFL offensive coach who played the Niners this year.
Yeah, there's a couple of coaches that I visited with, actually 3 coaches that played the Niners this year that said, listen, this is how you run the ball on them. Everybody is scared of their front. And by all means, they got a good front. I'm not trying to say that they don't. And they were also saying, don't be afraid to run the ball at Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa plays what they call that wide 9, and the 9 is the far outside hole. So the 9 hole is the furthest hole away. He's really, really wide. Stretch him a little bit with maybe, with Tyron Smith over there. You stretch him if he plays across from Tyron, or even he plays against Tyler.
But he is a move around guy, right?
He's a move around guy.
Play on both sides.
Around. Get a little bit wider split. Get a little bit wider split between, say, Tyron Smith, and he's next to Martin. Get a little bit of wider split, get Bosa a little bit further outside, and then wheel on him. We've seen Tyron Smith before do that thing where he gets the guy up the field and he just punches him, and then the defender goes up the field and then the ball goes inside. I was told the sprint draw stuff is really, really good against these guys. Cowboys have shown with Pollard they've been able to do that with him, get him the ball, guys up the field, and then hit those gaps.
Today's pregame show is brought to you by the National Medal of Honor Museum. Join the mission at mohmuseum.org. I certainly think Tony Pollard needs to be the feature man today, with Zeke having his role grinded out maybe late in the game and certainly in short yardage situations. But I cannot wait to see Pollard get going, because last year that was a dimension to the Cowboys offense that they didn't use. It was a resource they had. They neglected to use it. Today will be much different. Now, what is not different is the clothes that the the Tolos are wearing right now, Broadus, compared to what they wore on game day. We asked the question, you and I both doing our part.
I've got mine on.
Wearing the exact same clothes from head to toe that we were wearing on Monday night when the Cowboys went in there and dominated the Buccaneers and went 1-0 in the playoffs versus Mr. Brady himself. And it seems like the Metroplex is following suit here and across Cowboys Nation, because they're all checking in, wearing the same clothes. You have 817, yes, sir, same clothes. Just need to take my shirt off at game time because that's what I did last game. That's right. There you go. Shirt off. Maybe you're helicopter in that bad boy right at kickoff. I like that idea. We got the 817. Made sure all my last game clothes were clean and ready for today, all the way down to the socks and undies. One guy's trying to remember if he was wearing a shirt or if he was wearing a hat or not during the game on Monday, because I'm like, man, I hope you took a picture. The Miller Lite was flowing. You know it was. Cowboy playoff victory. Are you kidding me? It was absolutely flooding the streets of the DFW. Now, as we look at some of these playoff matchups that went down yesterday, going down right now, we're just a few minutes away from hearing from Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olson, two gentlemen with Fox that'll be on the broadcast today. What stood out to you? And it's 14-7 right now in Buffalo, with Cincinnati driving once again to try and extend their lead. They're up 7 now, 2.5 remaining in quarter number 2. And Cincinnati's really dominated this game. Buffalo finally got a drive going in the snow there to cut the deficit. But Joe Burrow and the Bengals just seem unstoppable right now versus the Bills. But what stood out to you about yesterday's action?
Well, I was surprised really in the second game. Kansas City in Jacksonville, I'll get to that one in a minute. But I was really surprised how poorly the Giants played against the Eagles. I felt like that with the situation with what it was, that maybe the Eagles coming off, they got a little bit break. It looks like that Jalen Hurts with the shoulder and stuff, he caught a break, with the week off and stuff like that. Lane Johnson back. I was just surprised how bad the Giants looked. I felt like that they would be able to make some plays, try and get that game into the fourth. Maybe they were going to lose the game, but I felt like that it would be a lot tougher, a lot tighter. But, man, the Eagles just did anything that they wanted to do offensively. They built a halftime lead and then, kind of put that thing into cruise. It's to the point where, everybody was – and I know I was one of these guys, when we were on our show on 105.3 this week talking about, do you extend Daniel Jones and all that kind of stuff like that? And you're like going, yeah, well, why? Yeah, he's done a great job. He's, the coach and all this, that, and the other. Well, maybe there's some questions now. Maybe there's some questions about that. But, like I said, hey, congratulations to the Giants. So nobody expected them to be where they were in that particular game. I'm sad for them that they didn't give the Eagles more of a game. I really thought that they were.
Yeah, I was hopeful that they were, but I had the Eagles in our G-Bag Nation Survivor picks.
Yeah.
I felt good about the Eagles getting a home win there, but certainly thought that, hey, could the Giants at least cover here as they were 7.5-point dogs? The answer was no, and the answer was an emphatic no early on in that game. And now whoever wins this evening's matchup between the Cowboys and Niners will head to Philadelphia and try and slay the NFC Dragon that is these Eagles. Now, the early matchup, AFC, Arrowhead Stadium, Trevor Lawrence, Pat Mahomes. Trevor Lawrence ends up losing, of course, and he lost on a Saturday for the first time in his collegiate and NFL career, and I believe it goes all the way back to high school for Trevor Lawrence, where this dude just, on Saturdays, he does not lose, even if he is in Jacksonville and he's trailing Justin Herbert and Brandon Staley, throwing all the interceptions. He finds a way to win on Saturday, unless, of course, Pat Mahomes is involved. Yesterday, Mahomes was involved, and it was 34-1 now is the collegiate and NFL record for Trevor Lawrence on a Saturday. But Mahomes suffered the high ankle sprain early on in that game. Things got a little bit wonky, but Chad Henne led a touchdown drive. I mean, my gosh.
That's I think
98 yards.
Absolutely. That's the thing that you have to, that just shows you how deep the Chiefs are as far as a team, with their ability, listen, they move on from some really talented players, with Mahomes and, with what he's been able to do through the year and stuff like that. But still, it's a really, really good football team. It's very well coached. But that just shows you, like a guy like Chad Henne, and he's able to step in. There's things that you're not going to be able to do with him that you do with Mahomes. But the fact that they were able to run the offense and not miss a beat that way, I think says a lot about their team and their depth of their team.
877-881-1053. How are you prepping for today's game? Cowboys and Niners. I just can't get over how absolutely awesome and fun this is, trying to appreciate every single moment. And this Cowboys team's got a different vibe to me this year, Broadus. They just seem like they're a team that is much more ready for a moment like this. They got some dogs on this team. Dak Prescott now is the veteran, and he's gonna look across that sideline and see the baby face of Brock Purdy, 7th round pick, Mr. Irrelevant. And to me, that's what's given me all the confidence in the world right now. At some point, this dude is going to collapse on him a little bit. What are they riding, an 11-game winning streak?
Yeah.
Things happen, man.
Yeah, there's a stat, and I think I'm right about this. Teams that have 11 or more game winning streak going into the playoffs or going into the divisional round are 0-6 going into that. So, yeah, maybe that's something if you're a Cowboy fan, you can hang your hat on and give it a little hope there if you need a little bit of that. But, this is really going to come down to, the Cowboys have got a great shot in this game. They really do. They got a great shot at winning this football game, but they can't hurt themselves in this game. They can't turn the ball over. They can't have those untimely penalties. This is they match up well against these guys. They really, really do in a lot of areas. I mean, they're going to present a lot of problems to the 49ers, But, man, I'll tell you what, speaking of presenting problems, this Jamar Chase is presenting problems for the Buffalo Bills.
Another touchdown for Chase, huh?
Yeah, another touchdown.
Him and Burrow are just absolutely nasty.
Tell you what, my LSU brothers right there are doing it. They're putting it on Buffalo right now. That's going to be pending extra point. We're looking at 21-7, getting ready here going into half. Boy, what a play!
Okay, we are still just getting started on the official pregame party of America's team. We will go live to Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California, as we go inside the Star with Bobby Belt. We got Babe Laufenberg, Christy Scales, the whole nine. You know how we do it up in here. But let's hear from Kevin Burkhardt. Let's hear from Greg Olsen, the two fellows with Fox. They'll be on the telecast today. We'll chat with them next right here on The Fan. About 2 hours and 15 minutes to kick off, ladies and gentlemen. Get your mind right. 877-881-1053. Great to have you in the official pregame show of America's Team. 214's got that nervous energy brought us on that third workout of the day right now. Just getting it in, bro.
All right.
I love it, 214. Do your part. Hashtag do your part. That's all we can do. How about Cincinnati and Jamar Chase ruling no touchdown? It is actually it bobbled it on the way down out of bounds.
Feet were fine, and then when you see him hit the ground, his hand moves on the ball, which means by repositioning that he had to adjust the ball, or to his hand to adjust to the ball in order to make the reception. So the ground helped him make the catch, and Gene Steratore is explaining it right now to Tony Romo and Jim Nantz. Tony's not buying it. And so, but it's 17-7 Buffalo with a minute 48 left in the first half.
I imagine Tony sitting there going, "Hey man, if my man Dez didn't catch it, neither did Chase."
Well, Gene was the referee.
Field goal.
Gene was the referee.
He was.
Yeah. So he doesn't trust Gene at all.
Yeah.
In these games. Yeah.
I don't blame him whatsoever.
He has to work with that guy every week. Yeah.
So it's 17-7 instead of 21-7. But Cincinnati's still up 10. Just under 90 seconds remaining in half number one. Buffalo trying to drive with all three timeouts and go get a couple of points here, make themselves feel better going into the locker room. We are going to go live to Levi's Stadium, Santa Clara, California. We go inside the Star with Bobby Belt coming up in just a few minutes. But I do want to hear from Kevin Burkhardt, Greg Olsen, the two gentlemen on the broadcast today for Fox, Cowboys, and Niners. And Greg, former NFL tight end, how do you feel like the Cowboys are able to pull off the upset today?
Yeah, I mean, I think, when you look at both teams, first and foremost, what jumps out at you is just no matter who has the ball, no matter which side of the ball you're studying, there's just star all-pro caliber players everywhere. So I think from a roster standpoint and from a talent standpoint, I think it's fairly close. I think when you're on offense, if you're Dak and Mike McCarthy and Kellen and you're putting this plan together, it all starts with accounting for that front. That front now that has gotten healthy with Armstead after missing some time earlier in the year. Of course, everyone knows about Bosa. Kinlaw kind of getting his legs back under him. That defensive line, which has always kind of been how they built that 49ers defense over the years with all those first-round picks, you got to account for them. If you don't have a great protection plan, if you don't have a great run plan to try to negate those guys, they need to force the 49ers secondary to carry the load, right? And that's attacking the ball downfield. That's running. It's going to be very hard to run between the tackles. It's going to be very hard. You don't want to get into a third and long contest where you're pass blocking every time. So I think for Dallas, being aggressive early, staying out of passing downs, where now if you want to pass, you can, but you have the option of play action and not being so predictable, because that front, we've seen it time and time again, when they could put their four pass rushers in those track stances and it's 3rd and 8+ and it's a passing down, it's tough sledding for anybody. So I think offensively that's what it comes down to. And then listen, on defense, Dan Quinn's going to have a great plan, and the 49ers are a handful. We've seen it. They're going to have their plays. You have to do the best job you can limiting the explosives, and that's both long ball, long throw, and that's also short throw, long run. And it's easier said than done. They have so many different weapons and create such space with Shanahan's offense. It's going to be a challenge. They're going to, like I said, they're going to get their plays. McCaffrey and Debo, they're going to get their plays. You just have to try to keep a lid on it, and you can't let a 5-yard drag route turn into a 50-yard touchdown. And we saw that against Seattle last week, and that's when the game kind of got out of hand.
No question, these are the best weapons this Cowboys defense is going to see or has seen all season, right?
Philadelphia would be comparable.
That's a good call.
Philadelphia would be comparable with with
a running quarterback too. That changes. Yeah. Is Purdy running on you a little bit?
Purdy will run to escape. I don't think Purdy's going to run maybe the RPO stuff unless that's a wrinkle that we might see. Maybe Kyle Shanahan is looking at the situation and saw what the Texans were able to do against the Cowboys with some of the RPO stuff. I kind of feel like, though, that you just got to be aware of that. But he will run if you are disorganized, rush lanes. Then boom, you're going to see maybe
he'll scramble.
First. But I really like what Greg was able to say there. I mean everything that he talked about, we've talked about really all week. I think he covered it throughout his answer of his question there.
Okay, we continue with Greg Olsen here on the broadcast for Fox alongside Kevin Burkhardt. We'll hear from Kevin in a few minutes. But, Greg, how difficult will the quick turnaround be between playoff games for the Cowboys? Short rest?
Yeah, I think his experience just from doing this, from being a head guy for so long now, and obviously he has a ton of experience to draw from, and he'll rely on his vets to kind of get a taste for how everybody's bodies are feeling. And listen, if I was a Dallas fan and I was a Dallas player, I would probably feel the same way. I think when you look at it, though, I think it all kind of plays itself out. I know in this particular week, Dallas kind of has the short week and San Francisco has the extra days. And, but frankly, and I'm sure Dallas fans are not going to love this, but when you're talking about from week 18 to the Monday night game that you guys played, maybe you have that extra day or two, that you had at San Francisco. They played on Saturday. You play on Monday. Tyler Biadasz gets 2 more days with the ankle. Now he's healthy, so you go into the wild card round maybe a little more fresh. So I think at various points in the season, different teams have different advantages. I understand in this particular week having the 2-day span, but 10 days ago, Dallas had the extra couple days and San Francisco was on the short week. So I think when it's all said and done, I don't think you're going to hear a lot of complaints out of Mike McCarthy or, in the coaching staff and the players there. You understand in the NFL, you deal with the hand that you're dealt. Mike will have a great plan for getting these guys' legs back under them. And I promise you, when that ball is kicked off, Dallas will be just as prepared with, their 5 days if they had 10 days. They'll be prepared. They'll be ready. Their guys will be ready to rock. And I think once the ball kicks off, I don't think the difference in time between games is going to have much of an impact on the game.
Friendly reminder to scan your 7-Eleven app at purchase for your chance to win tickets and other exclusive Cowboys prizes through 7 Rewards. No purchase necessary, subject to rules at 7-ElevenCowboysSweeps.com. Are you buying that? I mean, I know the guys, Jerry and McCarthy and all the players have downplayed the quick turnaround, short rest stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not just that. The Niners get an additional day because they played last Saturday. So where are you at with this situation?
Well, the problem that if you're a Cowboy fan or the Cowboys that you should have is that you've gone through a schedule where there was a couple of times you played 3 games in 12 days. The way that
Thanksgiving time.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at then they had that thing with
Thursday in
the
Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been other than last, they haven't had a normal schedule.
Maybe they're built for this thing.
They haven't had. I mean, so yeah, but the one thing when you're the Dallas Cowboys is, and my experience of working for the team for 14 years, that you're going to have scheduling quirks, and you just have to be ready for them. And that's TV dictates so much. But look what the Tampa Cowboy game did ratings wise. You just threw ESPN Monday Night Football a bone is what you just did. By playing that game. They made money on that game. So the next time you go to ESPN and ask for billions of dollars for a television package for NFL, they remember these things. Mm-hmm. So yeah, these players, players play whenever they're supposed to play, but I do agree with Greg. I think just the kind of the strangest of the schedule would be something that I would be concerned about.
Kevin Burkhardt on the call for Fox today, Cowboys and Niners. What is the weakness here that the Niners have that the Cowboys should be exploiting?
Yeah, weakness is a relative term because of how good they're playing, all right? When you win 11 in a row
Sure.
and you're doing things the way you're doing it. But I think defensively, their defense is great, obviously. The number 1 scoring defense in the league. But the weakness is at cornerback, right? And the couple of rare times where they've had some issues this year, their last loss was a game at home against Kansas City that we did, and they got exploited on the outside in that game. Same thing in the Raider game they played about a month ago with Jarrett Stidham at quarterback. Now, how do you get that? You have to block, which is, it's easier to say, well, if they can give them time. Most teams can't give them time because their front is insane. And the way that they work their front with stunts, and they're so good and so calculated, and then kind of like Micah Parsons, and they have athletic freaks on their defense, like Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, guys that just make up for a lot of mistakes. So I think the old, if you can block them up, the weakness is at corner, I think, but it's a big if. Not a lot of teams have been able to successfully do that.
Okay, so the Niners have 3 all-pro defenders.
Yeah.
Who's the guy, though, that you would like to pick on? Are we picking on Jimmy Ward? Are we picking on Lenore here? Who's the target?
I think to me that when Jimmy Ward out of the slot, that's the one guy that the coaches that I talked to this week were pretty unanimous about that.
Well, because he's a safety turn nickel corner. Exactly. It's not really a natural spot for him.
Exactly. And, but they also talked about Hufanga, the safety, who's kind of, he's come on, but
he's a young player. He's an all-pro, but he's a in-the-box guy, tackler, blitz a little bit, but you can beat him deep.
He's a stiff-moving guy. He's a downhill player, and he doesn't cover particularly well. When you watched him play at USC, everything in front of him, he's absolutely great. Anything behind him, it's a problem. And so, to me, Greg and Kevin are exactly right. These cornerbacks, if you find a way to block the front, we've been saying it all week, there's the ability to make some plays on these guys. There really, really is.
Yeah, and I love the idea of, hey, CeeDee Lamb, who has done a lot of dominance in the slot this year, and credit to Kellen Moore for getting him moving around, and that's the versatility that a guy like CeeDee Lamb brings to the offense. And if you get CeeDee Lamb in the slot matched up with a guy like Ward, who is playing a little bit out of position as a nickel, I think you can take advantage of him there. But the deep passing game, right? Like when you look at the opportunities against this San Francisco defense, the deep passing game can get you DK Metcalf, Geno Smith, 50 yards, pay dirt, let's rock and roll.
Yeah.
Now, they only got one of those going last week. You're going to need to get a few of those today, but when you look at Football Outsiders, the Niners rank 24th in DVOA when it comes to passes over 15 yards through the air. So if you can get behind these guys, and it starts with the protection, you got to give your quarterback time, and Dak being able to buy time himself with his legs, and we'll get to Dak and his movement and his ability to take off and run and how important that is to the Cowboy offense today. But I'm with you 100%, man. You can get behind these guys, and you can create big plays through the air, but as always, it starts up front, and this is a big trenches game, both sides of the ball. Who wins it? Niners won it last year. Who's got it this time around? I like where the Cowboys are. I really do. All right, we spend the next 60 minutes at Levi's Stadium, live at Levi's Stadium, Santa Clara, California, the site of today's matchup, Cowboys and Niners. It is the official Cowboy pregame party right here on The Fan. Let's go inside the Star with Bobby Belt next right here on The Fan.
and by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
We are just 2 short hours away from kickoff. Santa Clara, California, the site of today's matchup, Levi Stadium. We'll spend the next 60 minutes there. Babe Laufenberg, Christy Scales giving us the scoop. But let's go ahead and go inside the star with our guy, Bobby Belt, Cowboys insider. What is Bobby doing today in terms of, doing your part? Hashtag do your part. That's what we're about here. Dallas Cowboys game day, divisional round versus the Niners, and we're superstitious up in here, Bob, and it sounds like the entire Cowboys nation is as well. We are all wearing the exact same clothes we were wearing on Monday when we dominated the Buccaneers. Can you say the same, Bob?
I cannot. I can say I'm wearing the same blue jeans I was wearing.
How often do you wash those blue jeans?
Blue jeans are usually once every 2 weeks washing. I believe that's the recommendation from Levi's and Wrangler. Okay. So that's what I'm doing.
Did you
today.
ask somebody at the stadium there? It's Levi's Stadium. Did you ask somebody?
You wearing
why
Levi's right now?
I didn't. No, I'm not wearing Levi's. I'm actually wearing Wranglers today.
Okay.
So
okay. You've always been a big Brett Favre guy.
I'm doing the Wranglers. I'm giving the old middle one to the Levi's crowd here.
I gotcha. Good. Hey, Robert, okay, you're on the plane with the Cowboys. As you're sitting there in your seat, did you get a kind of a vibe, quiet? Where were you on? Was it probably some Mission Impossible movie you had to watch, which is a tradition there?
Stephen Jones loves Tom Cruise. He told us that.
But did you get any kind of a feeling with the players getting off and on the planes and stuff like that, bus rides, things like that?
I got the feeling that it struck me as though nothing were different from any other trip.
Really? Good.
It felt exactly the same to me. Them getting on, getting off, everything else, the whole mood around it. Just walking into the stadium today as we got off the buses, it felt just very much like, this is business as usual, which is the same feel last week had. And so I think they're definitely going to be locked in. They're going to be ready to go. But it didn't strike me that there was any extra gravity to it, at least on the outside. It felt like, I'm sure there's a little bit of nervousness on the inside and everything else, but on the outside they were still waters.
Okay, that is fantastic. It sounds like the vibe check, everybody passed it. And that's
the vibe.
That's according to our insider, Bobby Belt here, as he's live at Levi Stadium, getting you set for Cowboys and Niners divisional round playoffs. This is just freaking awesome, isn't it, Bob? I mean, I know you can say everybody passed the vibe check. It seems like any other game, but it's not. You're feeling like this is incredible right now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we obviously know it's not. That's just, I think that's how they've got to approach this game, is that they can't. I mean, I think they absolutely understand the weight of it. I think they just can't psych themselves out of their routine or out of their normal approach to a game day, and I think that's what they're trying to do. But, yeah, I mean, look, you've got the 49ers have the old school, 2-bar face mask logo in the end zone. You've got Dak Prescott wearing the old 90s themed Cowboys hats, getting on the plane.
Love it.
Just seeing the Cowboys and 49ers helmets next to each other on press materials around here and stuff like that. It definitely does feel extremely nostalgic. And man, I've never seen so many gestures to the team bus driving into a stadium as we did today. So there's a lot of tension here, and I think a lot of fans are ready to go. But this is it's a very cool nostalgic feel, just because Cowboys and 49ers, it's just in general. Brian and I talked about that this week, the scene who's left in the NFC: Giants, Eagles, Cowboys, 49ers. It just has a very classic old school throwback feel to it, and it's tough not to be romantic about football right now, Chi-Chi.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Bobby, I know from your broadcast position where you're standing, I know Brad's got the window open there. Any sign of Brett Maher warming up or anything like that? Have you noticed anything out of the ordinary, earlier times, later times with what's going on with the kicker?
I don't see him down there now. I did see him on the field. He was the first one on the field earlier, and he was just taking some warm-up leg swings. He didn't have a ball or a holder or anybody. He was just out here going through his steps and going through some simulated kicks. But that's all I had seen from there. It looks like it's maybe dying down a little bit, but the whole time I've been up here in the press box, the flags at the top of the stadium have been pretty consistently blowing straight. So there's a wind here today.
Okay, as you would look at a TV screen, which way would the wind be blowing off if you're when we're watching this game? Like, is it going? Is the wind blowing from your left to your right, or how's that going?
From where I'm at in the press box from Brad's spot, it's from left to right.
Okay.
So all the flags directly in front of me are pointing directly out towards the right side of the stadium.
Okay, good.
Going inside the Star here with Bobby Belt, our Cowboys insider, and he is brought to you by the Salvation Army, Love Beyond. Are you seeing some Cowboy fans out there?
Yeah, we saw a few coming in, and we've seen a couple of them already trickle into the stadium here and stuff like that. I would not anticipate any sort of a Cowboys takeover or anything else. San Francisco, I think, generally does a good job holding serve, making sure that their crowd is theirs. But yeah, there will be a Cowboys presence here. There always is at any stadium you go to. But I don't think it'll look anything like San Francisco did last year to Dallas, where there were as many there as there ended up being. But they're a very strong traveling football team. I absolutely already just kind of glancing across the crowd. Okay, I see a CeeDee Lamb jersey. I see an Aikman jersey. There's Micah Parsons. There's already several Cowboys jerseys sitting here, and there's not a ton of fans in the building yet. So,
Bobby, do you anticipate any surprise inactives? I mean, last week we were. The defensive tackles, so it was Gallimore and Bohanna were both inactive in this game. Do you feel like that maybe Dan Quinn's got the similar plan this week, or is it going to be maybe one of those two guys will be active?
I think Gallimore will probably be active. I mean, I was not expecting them to have the inactives that they did last week.
Sure.
So, I mean, that was a bit of a surprise, but I think that was also matchup based. So I don't think it's going to just be a repeat of last week in terms of what the inactives look like, but the big thing for them today is just to make sure that J-Ron Kearse is active, which he should be, and he should be able to play today. But just I'll be interested to see how they choose to play that corner spot again. With obviously Mukwamu and Kearse taking some reps like that outside last week. I'll be interested to see if that maintains today or if that was just about matching up against the bigger receivers that Tampa had.
Bobby, which skill guy on the Niners offense would you most like to nullify today?
I mean, if you can nullify Christian McCaffrey, that'd be wonderful. I think that you eliminate a lot of what has made San Francisco so successful in the second half of the season. I don't think it's a coincidence that they really started to up their game as soon as Christian McCaffrey got here. So if you can neutralize Christian McCaffrey, that'd be great. But also at the end of the day, you go, okay, you've neutralized Christian McCaffrey. That also means that you've willingly allowed not the Cowboys, but in terms of if I just got to pick somebody to neutralize, that means I'm also saying, well, I'll roll the dice with George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, and Brandon Ayuk. They're very, very talented across the board, and it's going to be a real challenge for them today to slow everybody down. I think they have the personnel to do it. I think they have the coaches to do it, but it's not going to be easy for them. This will be something that this game really does to me feel like a bit of a coin flip.
Bobby, when coming on the air today, I felt like that player 45, 46, 47, somebody out of that group of the guys that are active, somebody out of that group might be the guy that kind of turns this game around, whether it's a punt return, with T.Y. Hilton could be, something like a big play. Do you have somebody, am I going down the right path? I mean, because there's so many great players in this game. Is there a player that we haven't talked about that you'd like to kind of shine the spotlight on a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, look, this definitely could be a game that comes down to, Luke Gifford, jars a ball loose on a punt return and you scoop it up, and that can be the difference. Or, like you say, a T.Y. Hilton or, Kevontae Turpin gets a big run back or something like that. This is absolutely a game that with it being a coin flip, it's going to be about the little things. And so the guys who are contributing at the back end of that roster with special team snaps or things like that, absolutely. If one of them makes a play, then that'll stand out. So, somebody, like a Gifford or somebody like that making a big play on special teams could be very impactful in this one. Maybe it's one of those young tight ends. If Hendershot's able to go, he's obviously questionable today, but he's I know I saw him walking around when he got to the the airplane early, and he looked okay. But I think it's just about probably these small margins for error in a game like this. Then it's going to matter. It's going to be magnified that much more. These guys who have maybe smaller contributions. So those guys will absolutely have an impact. If you're going to nail me down to one, I'll say let's get a big return from Kevontae Turpin today that turns the game.
There you go. I love the sound of that. Bobby Belt, Cowboys Insider, with us here on the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys, getting you set for Cowboys and Niners. How fearful are you of this Niners pass rush? They got Bosa, obviously, but outside of that, is it just if you shut down Bosa, do you feel pretty good, or are the rest of these guys coming for you too?
I mean, Bosa was out of the game at the end of last year, and Charles Omenihu was giving Tyron Smith a ton of problems. And I think Omenihu's played better here than he has when he was in Houston. And I think they've got some other talented players, obviously, Eric Armstead. I think that when you look at what they can do with the guys on that defensive line, the way they can generate pass rush, it's not all about Nick Bosa. He's obviously the star of it. But yeah, I mean, if you can neutralize Nick Bosa, you neutralize a lot of what they want to do with their pass rush, and that helps you a lot. But they've still got talented players who can get home. But if you can block them up front, I know Brian's been talking about this all week. If you can block them up front, you can take advantage of the secondary.
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to be a big part of today for them.
Bobby, I've kind of felt like that maybe it might come down to a coaching decision in this game. How aggressive do you see Mike McCarthy being in this game?
What was the old Jason Garrett line in the Detroit playoff game? You don't lay up at Augusta.
Yeah.
I think that probably a similar approach. Like, this is not the time to get cute. And I don't think Mike McCarthy has strayed away from aggressive decisions in other games. And so, yeah, I would expect him to coach this aggressively. And if it's, getting down to the nitty-gritty and it's, kind of a, well, what do we do here? Do we make the aggressive play or do we go the conservative way? Do we punt the ball away or do we go for it on 4th and 4? That kind of a question. I would anticipate that this would be the time that Mike McCarthy wouldn't even debate it. And it would just be like, nope, we're going for it. Because this isn't the time to question, did I cost us a game because I didn't just trust my players? I think this is the time of the year where Mike McCarthy's just going to trust his players to get the job done.
Brock Purdy, we're getting some pressure on him today. He hasn't seen pressure like this Cowboys front, has he?
No, and he's pretty good, Chi-Chi, but yeah, I know. I was hating it. I was in the
Were you saving that one?
Night.
Were you saving that one?
No, I was not.
He stayed up all night thinking.
I'm partially mocking local television here. I had the TV on last night, and they were like, keep up with the 49ers with our Fox 2 app or whatever. It's pretty good. And so that was more what I was doing there.
I'm sorry you had to deal with that.
But look, here's the thing. The 49ers have a good offensive line, and Purdy's a mobile quarterback who, has eluded pressure at times this year. And so he's not going to be easy to bring down. He's not going to be easy to, you can generate some pressure, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be able to wrap him up. You may just have him, improvise a little bit, and then you're hitting a big play. And so this is the way that San Francisco can challenge you all over the place because they are very, very talented. There's not a glaring weakness on this football team anywhere. And usually even with playoff teams, there's like, man, we wish our corners were better. We wish this was better. They're pretty damn good across the board. And so, I think definitely rattling Brock Purdy will be a big part of this. He is the biggest unknown that they have. And I trust that Dan Quinn will have something ready to go.
Come home with that dub, Bob. We love you.
I'm going to do it. Love you all.
There he goes, Cowboys insider Bobby Belt, live at Levi's Stadium, Santa Clara, California, the site of tonight's matchup. Don't forget, with NFL Game Pass, you'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full and condensed game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. Let's go back out to Levi's Stadium. Welcome in Babe Laufenberg next right here on The Fan. Let's go back to Levi's Stadium. Welcome in Babe Laufenberg. Go inside the booth here on the official pregame show of America's team. We are still under 2 hours to kickoff, and we're getting set for a monster game. And we welcome in Babe Laufenberg right now, brought to you by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. It is Miller time, and it's also time for some quarterbacks to step up in a big way this afternoon or this evening here, Babe. What do you see from this quarterback matchup?
Well, what I see is neither one of them are supposed to be here, right, guys? I mean, the one is a 7th rounder. He was a 3rd-string quarterback. when Dak Prescott took over the Cowboys starting job, he was really the 3rd-string quarterback coming into that camp. And then Tony Romo gets hurt, and then Kellen Moore gets hurt, and all of a sudden here comes Dak. And similarly, although it happened during the season for San Francisco, he was the 3rd-string quarterback. And Trey Lance gets hurt in week 2, then Jimmy Garoppolo goes down, and here comes the Brock Purdy story, right? So, hey, as we all know, Cowboys tried to get 2 different quarterbacks in that 2016 draft. They tried to trade up to get Paxton Lynch. That didn't work. They were on the phone with Cleveland to make a trade for Connor Cook to get into that draft spot. Oakland jumps in there. They take Connor Cook, and the Cowboys are stuck with Dak Prescott. And by the way, those 2 guys they were trying to get are both been out of the league for a couple of years now.
It is kind of funny because then, the 49ers are in their situation where you mentioned Trey Lance. They give up a lot to go up and get that pick. So, everybody's trying to kind of find these quarterbacks, and all of a sudden you wake up and one's on your doorstep there for you. So, But, babe, I want to ask you that when you watch the 49ers play and, offensively, is there anything that you could pick up from Brock Purdy as far as his ability to, say, throw better one way or other? Is he a one-read guy and then kind of get rid of it? I was just kind of curious about some of the things I was watching on tape about him. One read and then maybe take off and run with the ball kind of a guy?
Well, one thing the 49ers do, obviously, is there are a lot of bootleg, there are a lot of play action, misdirection stuff. Yeah. And so what that does for the quarterback, you only have to read half the field.
Sure.
So he's not in a position where you're scanning left to middle to right. So all these bootlegs and all that, you cut down half the field.
Right.
And so obviously it works to any quarterback's advantage when you only have to deal with half the field. But I think that's been a part of his success. Now, I can give you a bunch of reasons. The talent around him.
Sure.
Kyle Shanahan as a play caller, all that. But ultimately, that's a guy that's got to pull the trigger, right? And so it'd be dismissive of me to say, well, look what they have around him and look at this and look at that defense. And, hey, he's putting up 30-plus points a game.
Right.
He is playing very well. Now, I'll tell you this. I go back, you looked at the Seattle game. He had a couple of balls there that were in harm's way that Seattle they got their hands on. They didn't catch them defensively. And as we all know, Cowboys led the NFL in takeaways. You throw it to a Cowboy, there's a good chance that they're going to go the other way with it.
And I was going to ask you this too, babe, about when you watch him, specifically though the way Shanahan sets his formation, and I just wonder, do teams fall into a trap of like, okay, he puts his fullback out wide, he puts his running back out wide. Oh wait, they're bringing the wide receiver in to play running back. Is that deception to try and get you to take players out of areas, and then he's going to try and attack the areas that you've removed guys?
Well, and I do think that's one of the tougher things about defending this offense.
Because you're trying to match them, right? I mean,
you're trying to match, but
yeah.
Here's the deal. Deebo Samuel can be at receiver and Christian McCaffrey can be at running back, right?
Right.
And now we don't change personnel, but all of a sudden Deebo Samuel's your running back and Christian McCaffrey's your wide receiver.
Right.
So they have, people forget how good a pass receiver Darryl Johnston was. I mean, he caught 50 balls one year. The Cowboys, that offense had 5 guys that could really catch the ball. And I think that's the same with the San Francisco offense. They've got, last week, their 3 wide receivers averaged over 20 yards a catch. Their tight end, Kittle, averaged over 18 yards a catch. And then you got McCaffrey to deal with. So, man, they just come at you a lot of ways. And here's the other part of it. I look at tape, I'm watching, and I'm trying to figure out how do you defend them, and I have no idea. They do so much formationally and motion, and you've seen it with this offense that you're like, okay, ball gets snapped, and where are they going? I don't. It's tough to get a key on them to say, hey, when they line up here, here's what they're going to do, in my mind. Now, hopefully Dan Quinn has a better handle on it than I do.
Yeah, I hope he's feeling pretty dang good about this situation right now. Babe Laufenberg with us here. He's live at Levi's Stadium. We're getting you set for Cowboys and Niners. And do you feel like the Cowboys defense matches up well with the versatility of these skill guys, though, babe? Because I feel like the Cowboys, it's J-Ron Kearse. Is he a linebacker? Is he a safety? Here comes Donovan Wilson. Kind of same thing. McQuamu in the plays that he made. And then, of course, you got guys like Micah Parsons. But do you feel like the Cowboys match up well with these skill guys?
Well, I think Kittle and J-Ron Kearse, that's a big matchup. That the Cowboys, a lot of teams don't have a J-Ron Kearse to match up with the tight end. Now, obviously, J-Ron Kearse, he's got a bad knee. We'll see how good he plays. I'm assuming he is going to play today, but we'll see how much of J-Ron Kearse they get. But Kittle, they can match up with you any which way. That's the problem to me with this 49ers team. You want to take away our tight end? Great. We'll go McCaffrey. You want to take those guys away? I got Deebo Samuel on the outside. Brandon Ayuk had a great year this year. He's going to the Pro Bowl. Man, there's just it's almost pick your poison.
Babe, okay, how are we going to account with Nick Bosa? They already play in that wide 9 with him on the outside. Yep. Are you going to give Tyron Smith help, or you let Tyron Smith do that alone and then think about if he's on the other side with Tyler Smith? That's maybe where you direct some help to try and alleviate any kind of rush he might have.
Well, Bosa obviously is going to be a factor. 18.5 sacks this year. What's interesting is nobody on that team had more than 5. So the Cowboys they can hit you with a number of guys right on that pass rush, as can San Francisco. But Bosa is the key to what they do. Now, that's a guy, too. You go back to last season in that playoff game, he played 23 snaps. He went out with a concussion in the second quarter. The other part, they really rotate him in. He's not – Micah played 79 to 80 snaps in Tampa. Bosa played like 40 of 68 last week against Seattle. So they rotate those guys much more than the Cowboys, trying to keep them fresh. But to me, I let my tackles try to handle Bosa with some help. If we find out we can't do that, then, if he comes in, first play, sack, it's the last time. From that point forward, we're not going to let him take over the game. And he will take over a game, as you know.
Yeah, he's a super beast. There's no question about that. Okay, Let's go ahead and pause 10 seconds for station identification right here on your home of the Dallas Cowboys, 105 through the Fan.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas Fort Worth.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Babe Laufenberg is live at Levi's Stadium, and he's with us here on the official pregame party of America's team. How different are these two teams, Babe, than last year when they met in the playoffs?
Well, obviously they're different. Every team is different every year. I think the biggest difference, though, is Christian McCaffrey and what they can do with him. I mean, in the running game, in the passing game, to me, that is really what has set San Francisco apart. And it's he came here in week 7. They played Kansas City. Kansas City scored a ton of points on this defense, the only team to really do that this year. But from that point forward, they never lost a game. They won them with Garoppolo, a quarterback, and they won him with Brock Purdy, a quarterback. But I think the addition of Christian McCaffrey is really the X factor. And hats off to San Francisco for getting that deal done.
I kind of feel like we got our own X factor in Tony Pollard, just because he wasn't. Yeah, he was on the team, but they didn't use him, right, babe?
No, you're exactly right. Had 4 carries in that game last year against San Francisco, and again, I go back. I'm not going to spare Zeke's feelings. I'm not going to worry about he was the 4th pick in the draft or whatever it is. You got to win this football game, and Tony Pollard gives you a better chance when he's in there. That doesn't mean Zeke doesn't play, but the touches should be 2-1 Tony Pollard to Zeke Elliott, right? That's me. I mean, I'm going to figure out a way to get him 2-1 touches. Well, somebody doesn't agree with me.
No, I tell you, but that's like that Viking horn. When you hear that, babe, that's something bad's happening to your team. For sure.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Something bad just happened in my ears. I will let you know that. Oh. Every place has their own, right? They shoot the cannons on the pirate ship in Tampa.
Exactly.
You've got the horn in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Do we have anything at AT&T? We don't really, do we?
We really don't.
I need to bust something out there, man.
We really, we really don't have anything there. But babe, when you watch this, with Parsons, I know, the weapon with him is going to be, do you even waste rushes against Trent Williams, or is it like, no, go and try and establish something early? Maybe you get Micah to win one or two, and all of a sudden that gives like your defense some confidence? Or do you just keep Micah away from Trent Williams in this football game and try and attack McGlinchey and those guys on that other side?
That's funny. That's what I do. Trent Williams, of course, are Pro Bowl, All-Pro, future Hall of Fame left tackle. Why do I want to fight to a standstill over there with him, with Micah? I'm going to the other side with McGlinchey.
Yeah,
McGlinchey is just too tall to play tackle.
He is.
He's 6'8".
Yeah,
he had 6 holding penalties this year, and Micah, I think, will give him fits. So, if I'm Dan Quinn, while you like to move Micah around, and I do think Micah will be a little bit more of an off-ball backer in this game than just going out there to that defensive end spot. Excuse me. I don't waste his rushes against Trent Williams. I'm sitting there putting him on the left side of the defense, right side of the San Francisco offense, and have him go against McGlinchey.
All right, babe, I know that because you appreciate officials like I do and studying them and stuff like that. Okay, all-star crew, but you got Bill Vinovich. Does Bill Vinovich does a game where officials don't, I'm just guessing Bill Vinovich told his crew, like, listen, let's let these players decide it today. That's my attitude is let them decide it. If you see it, throw it. If you don't, if you have question, don't throw it. Okay, with that being said, if they let them play, who does that favor, the 49ers or the Cowboys?
I think there's no question it favors the 49ers. And you're exactly right. Bill Vinovich, his crew, now he doesn't have a single guy that he worked with during the regular season on this crew today.
Right.
As you say, it's an all-star crew, so they mix and match. But Bill Vinovich, I love him because he doesn't put up with
nothing. Yeah.
Crap.
You're right. Exactly. Yeah.
He takes care and takes control of the game. Now, San Francisco's secondary, and I know you saw this on tape, Brian, I'm sure, but they tug, they grab, they hold.
Right.
And so if they let that go, hey, Charvarius Ward, their corner, he had 4 defensive holds this year. He had 2 pass interference, 2 illegal contact. They just hold and grab and tug all game long. If they let that happen, we'll know in the first quarter pretty much, right?
Right.
You get to the end of the first quarter, you say, oh, it's the way they're going to call it. But if they let that happen, then, it could be a long day for Dallas. The flip side of that is San Francisco had the 3rd most holding penalties called this year.
Right.
On the offensive side of the ball. So if they're going to let them hold on offense and hold and grab and tug on defense, it's going to make it a little harder on the Cowboys. So I think the officiating is going to be a big part of this thing today.
Could you be in a situation for Cowboys of having to hold pass rushers and hold, last year they got called for so many penalties in this game, Connor Williams and all that. Do you think like if they let the offensive lines hold, that could help Dallas? With the San Francisco pass rush?
Yeah, well, and then,
or running plays for that matter too.
Yeah, we all look at Nick Bosa and say, "Oh, how are we going to handle Nick Bosa?" And
you hold him.
San Francisco,
yeah.
But they're looking at it too, saying, "Boy, how are we going to handle Micah Parsons?"
Sure.
So the Cowboys bring some of that to the table as well. But it is interesting. You hate to come into a game worrying about the officiating, but again, I think pretty early on you're going to get a feel for the way the game's going to get called. And again, no one tugs, pulls more than the San Francisco secondary. So if they let that stuff go, it's going to be a long day for the Cowboys in the passing game.
A little bit windy out there, babe. Have you seen Maher try to kick a little bit?
Hey, trust me, we've got our eye on him. He's not out. He's not out yet. But the wind. Christy will give us the update as the game goes along. But 1 minute it's blowing one direction, the next it's blowing the other. So it's really going to kind of be a quarter-to-quarter thing. But if you've ever been out here to the peninsula here, the wind tends to die down when the sun goes down. So it's going to get less windy as this game goes along, and we're still, an hour and a half away from kick. Mm-hmm. So I think the wind may be less of a factor, but right now it would certainly factor in.
Speaking of factors, how about Dak using his legs versus Tampa? You'd like to see more of that today, huh?
Yeah, I think, hey, when it's there, he's going to take it and go for it. Obviously, he's not a running quarterback per se, but hey, I always go back. You remember the John Elway helicopter in the Super Bowl? He was like 37 years old, and he said, hey, I don't have tomorrow if we don't win this game.
Amen.
So I think Dak's got a little bit of that approach, too. As I say, you want to be judicious with it. You don't want your quarterback getting hit a bunch, especially Dak. But, there's no question. If he sees something, he's going to take it. And nothing's more demoralizing than it's 3rd and 5. everybody's covered up in the secondary. They're doing a great job. They're locking down on your receivers, and all of a sudden the quarterback goes up the middle for 7 yards, and you get a new set of downs. That demoralizes a defense.
No question about it, Babe Laufenberg, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate the time, Babe. Enjoy the game and bring home a dub.
Okay, I appreciate it, guys. Let me just tell you, it's about 65 degrees. This is football weather. I always say, people, football weather. They got Buffalo. It's snow. It's raining. It's football weather. Only for the people that don't have to throw it, catch it, or kick it.
Or call it.
This is football weather.
That's
or
right.
Or call it. or the sideline reporter. Poor Christy. She's in great shape. She's basking in the sunshine of California right now.
That is correct. All right, Babe. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir. There he goes, Babe Laufenberg, brought to you by 7-Eleven. Scan your 7-Eleven app at purchase for your chance to win tickets and other exclusive Cowboys prizes through 7 Rewards. No purchase necessary, subject to rules at 7-ElevenCowboysSweeps.com. We are just about 90 minutes to kick off from Santa Clara, California, Levi Stadium. Let's go back out there onto the field and get all the scoops from Christy Scales next right here on The Fan.
Official pool service provider of the Dallas Cowboys.
Here we go. Let's go out to Levi's Stadium, on to the field, and we welcome in Cowboys sideline reporter Christy Scales as we are under 90 minutes to a Cowboy kickoff, divisional playoff round, Cowboys and Niners. Christy, it doesn't get any better than this.
Oh my gosh, 60 degrees, sunny, but the wind is definitely going to be an issue because it's about 10 to 12 miles an hour, but the gusts exceed 20 miles an hour. And if you say, well, if you're kicking north, is the wind going to be behind you and you're going to be kicking into it if you're going south? The problem is it's a crosswind, and really, I mean, it's just going to be moment to moment. So the grass field is in excellent condition, but the wind could definitely be a factor today.
Scoop, have we seen no warm-ups yet as far as, is Maher kicking yet or anything like that?
Just now. Yes, the specialists have just come out, but they're not doing it all together. Right now, Maher is just kicking off the tee, and right now this one is a 45-yarder just wide right.
Okay. So we'll go something. Yes,
I did. Yeah, I did try to find out if again the wind is going to be an issue. Now in practice on Thursday, when the media got to watch practice, I mean he only kicked 6 of them. They were perfect. They were right down the middle.
Sure.
Let's see, he's actually kicking from the right hash, same distance, and that one was in. So there we go.
He's got the hook.
It's going to be an adventure today for both sides, guys, with this wind.
Got the hook working. Okay. I know you like to talk to these, the players, coaches. I love to visit with you. Does Brock Purdy remind them of anybody that they've ever played? Has anybody sat up and said, "Hey, this guy reminds me of this guy"? Because you've been in this game a long time. You know them all.
Well, the best description that I got is actually from Scott Tolzien, the Cowboys offensive assistant, who he does a lot of study of the quarterbacks coming out of the draft, and he works in the quarterbacks room. But he said his comparable for Brock Purdy is Steve Nash. He's like a point guard, right? Just dishing it out to all of the different weapons on offense. And I thought, Scott, if it's all right, I'm going to use your name on that because this is the best description that I've had for Brock Purdy. He said he's got a lot of moxie, he's got a lot of confidence, but the thing is to just get the ball to his playmakers, just like a good point guard, just like Steve Nash. And then talking to a couple of the other coaches, and I said, what about, with his mobility and his ability to get away and evade the pass rush, or if he gets into open space? And one of the coaches used, this is a good coaching term that, Brian, you'll appreciate, short area quickness.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe not fast speed, like to time him in a 40, but enough to evade a pass rush or to step out of trouble and get downfield. So he said that of the ones in terms of short area quickness, it would be reminds him most of Joe Burrow.
Well, that's a good. Joe Burrow. Whoa. All right, I like that. I mean but you're right about that. The short area quickness stuff and things like that. You mentioned is there anything with the rotation? I mean, I know last week you broke down for us about the surprise, the inactives. Anything with defensive rotation that you're learning about this game?
Yeah, so last week the Cowboys went lighter on the defensive line and heavier at defensive back, particularly safety. But what they're doing today is going heavier defensive line. So that means that Neville Gallimore, the backup defensive tackle, he was inactive last week along with Quentin Bohanna. Bohanna is inactive, but Neville Gallimore will play today. He is active, so they're going to have a rotation of 5 defensive tackles. You would include Chauncey Golston in that, as well as Carlos Watkins, backing up your starters Hankins and Odigizua. You also are going to have cornerback Nashawn Wright inactive for the second week in a row. So that means that Xavier Rhodes, your veteran cornerback who plays outside, he is active. He will play today. I'm expecting a similar rotation to what we saw last week, where Deron Bland will move inside in nickel situations and Xavier Rhodes will come in outside. But there will also be times where you'll have Bland stay outside and you'll have Mukwamu and or Curse working in the nickel. There is a surprise inactive, and it's on the offensive side of the ball, guys, and that is your rookie tight end Peyton Hendershot, who came up with a strain yesterday with the hamstring. He was out early in warm-ups doing some running around. Honestly, I thought he looked pretty good, but no, he is actually inactive. So I'm mildly surprised after seeing him come out early. I thought, well, looks like he's moving around pretty good, but no, not good enough. They're confident that he could get through the game. So Peyton Hendershot is inactive, so that means that your third tight end today will be the veteran Sean McCune. Of course, we saw McCune last week when Connor McGovern had to go in and at left guard when Tyler Smith moved from left guard to left tackle. You know, McGovern they were going to use as like a fullback in some of those jumbo packages. It was McCune that came in and did that. So I would expect that we were going to see that anyway, just because McGovern having to play left guard today. But we're going to see a lot of McCune.
Okay, very good. Christy Scales with us here, Cowboys Sideline Reporter, brought to you by AT&T, the official 5G innovation partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And do you expect any traveling in regards to the corner, like with Diggs and some of these guys? Because the skill group for this Niners offense is just insane.
It is, and no, I'm not expecting any traveling with Trayvon, and I don't think you're going to see that much substitution, to be honest with you. The main thing, what Dan Quinn wants is these guys to play fast, to read and react, to don't get caught up in all of the eye candy. The one thing, talking to guys all week, and then Anthony Brown, who of course is on injured reserve, but he's traveled with the team the past couple weeks. We were having a long conversation pregame, and he was saying that the eye discipline is so important this week. And I said, are you talking about with the eye candy, with all of the movement and motions and things that they're doing pre-snap? He says, yes, but not just pre-snap, but even at the snap and right after the snap, because they do so many crossers and things like that. So, but the number one thing is tackling and stopping the run, because I know that when you think of the Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, what they can do in the passing game, or what George Kittle does. The thing is, this team is really good at running the ball, and so that's the thing: is tackle, eye discipline, read and react. Dan Quinn wants his guys to play fast.
You getting a good Cowboy fan turnout at this point?
Decent, but the folks who came in early, it's a good representation of Cowboy fans behind the bench, but this is not like most of the regular season where you have almost Cowboy takeovers of the away stadiums. No, that's not happening today. And by the way, these tickets early and through late in the week, the upper deck in the corner, the 400 level upper end zone, were going for about $630. They fell to where they were about $510, but anything down in these lower levels are like $900 and up.
So, Chris, you've been a part of a lot of these matchups. What stands out to you when you hear Cowboys and Niners? What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Well, the 90s, just because that's when I had first started with Cowboys radio, and so those NFC Championship games out in San Francisco, that's what stands out. But I still can't watch the catch. I still cry every time Dwight Clark catches that ball.
Yeah.
So yeah, little Christy cried her eyes out for a week, and it still hurts to watch those replays. So, but no, it's the 90s at Candlestick Park. That's always what stands out for me.
Well, Scoop, you probably don't miss the mud on the sidelines there at Candlestick Park, right? You ruined your shoes on that one, right?
Oh my gosh, that was such a mess. And the other thing is Candlestick, right on the water, it was always so cold and chilly. It just felt dank. It was always dank, and you were just always cold. But no, it's brilliant sunshine today, and of course by the time we get later in the game, the sun will be setting. But right now the shadows cover half of the field as the sun is starting to go down in the west. The stands in the west side are those folks are in shadow, but we're in brilliant sunshine here on the east side in the visiting bench area.
Christy, we always appreciate the wealth of knowledge, and we look forward to catching up with you next hour.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.
Yes, ma'am. There she goes, Christy Scales, Cowboys Sideline Reporter, brought to you by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza, better lives. It is Papa John's, the official pizza of your Dallas Cowboys and the official inactives have made an appearance here, and it looks like on the good side of things, Jaron Kearse, he's active. He was talking about it all week. Hey, I'm playing. He's dealing with the knee issue. Hopefully it doesn't hinder him much today because he's going to have a tall task defending this Niners offense and what we anticipate being a heavy dose of George Kittle and Jaron Kearse, as we saw last year in this matchup. And Jaron Kearse is a super beast when it comes to defending these tight ends. So Kearse is active. That is beautiful. But you will have Jabril Cox, Will Grier, Jalen Tolbert, Nishawn Wright, Peyton Hendershot, as we just learned from Christie, which is a huge bummer. He's going to be out. Jason Peters, as we expected, dealing with the hip issue. He will not be playing, so it's Tyler Smith getting the start at left tackle, where he's been most of the season. McGovern is your left guard, and then Quentin Bohanna, defensive tackle, inactive as well, just like he was last week, as Christie mentioned. But anything else stand out to you in regards to these inactives today? I mean, no Hendershot. That's a bummer, man. I mean, you have Ferguson, you got Schultz. We know Schultz should have himself a time versus Hufanga a little bit, but no Hendershot. That's a bummer.
Yeah, it is. And because he's also a guy that plays a lot on special teams as well. So, that's something that you kind of – and I'm going to be honest with you. I think, with McEwen, he's just not that guy, that point of attack blocker. It's just not the guy that – and there's been several times where he's gone in there actually sideways, half man. And I just worry about him. The thing I know with Hendershot is he's a little bit more of a square blocker, a little bit more of a tougher guy when it comes to that point of attack block. And so they'll probably miss him a little bit in this football game trying to run that ball.
You get a little queasy hearing Maher missing field goals a little bit. And Bobby just sent us a video where there was 49er people that just kept, it looks like players, maybe some of their staff, that just kept walking in front of Maher and Anger, who's the holder, as they're trying to get some warm-up kicks going here. So he just sent us the video from Levi's Stadium. So I wonder how much trash talk gets thrown his way too, Maher. Defenders, when the kicking team runs out and they're just taking shots at him a little bit. That's something I do wonder here. So that's going to be a huge storyline, no question about it. It is the official pregame party of America's team. We are looking at about 65 minutes to kickoff, ladies and gentlemen. Get your minds right, get your bodies ready. We got an hour left to go, and we'll hear from McCarthy, Brad Sham, and let's rock and roll coming up next right here on The Fan.
Brad Sham, Babe Laufenberg, Christy Scales, Eric Chiafalo, and Brian Broaddus. Brought to you by
AT&T, the official 5G innovation partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. It's Miller time. 7-Eleven, 7-Eleven in stripes. Proud partners of the Dallas Cowboys. Blockchain.com, trusted by millions, trusted by America's team. And by the University of North Texas. Proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Also brought to you by
Bell Nunnally, attorneys and counselors. Goody Goody Liquor, your store for discovering fine wine, craft beer, and premium spirits. Find a store at goodygoody.com. Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. Papa John's, better ingredients, better pizza. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
And before we get your Super Bowl champion advice on how to stop these Niners, let's hear from the playmaker himself, Michael Irvin. He knows a thing or two about the San Francisco 49ers. Here is the pregame pep talk as he's looking at you, Micah, Dak, 88 CD Lamb, Tony Pollard, Ezekiel Elliott. What do you have to say, Michael Irvin?
I will have to start right with the man of the hour here because I'm going to have to start right here, Michael Parsons. Listen, man. This thing was you and Joey Bosa going down the wire for MVP on the defense. Right now, you got a one-on-one battle, what they call, he the man right now. He's the man. As they used to tell me, when you go into this game, you make sure that you are the baddest defender on that field. You make sure that he cannot outplay you. If he hit your quarterback once, you hit his quarterback twice. That's what you do, Dak. Come on, Dak. All this noise all year, after the kind of season you have put up, you put the number one offense on the field, but you're also number one in interceptions, buddy. We got away with it all year long. You can't have it here, buddy. We need the good Dak playing and that bad Dak, that Clark Kent Dak. You leave him on the bench, sitting down. But I need Superman in that game. Don't listen to Kurt tell you, don't try to do too much. You do too much. That's what you do. You do too much like you did against the GOAT. Now, CD, let's stop playing around, CD. I had to walk on that field with Jerry Rice on that field. Yeah, you got Deebo Samuel, but you also wear the number 88. What does that mean? That means you got to go and take care of your business. You got to be better than Debo, be better than anybody. Don't you let them Zeke be more physical than you. You lay it down, you lay them out. And Tony Pollard, you hit him with that lightning right down the sideline, baby. Right down the sideline for 2 touchdowns, and we're going to get out of there with a victory.
Yes, sir. That'll get
Michael,
you.
Don't you?
Oh, that'll get you jacked up right there, boys and girls. Okay, let's get into this preview. Brought to you by Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. What is your key to victory today?
It's going to have to be about the ability to block up front. And I feel like, though, if Dallas can control the line of scrimmage, they did a great job of that. I know it's very simplistic to say, and it's, you think, tell me something different here, Brian. No, it really about this game. This is what it is. Because if you do find a way to block their front, you will see them throw the ball as well as they did against Tampa Bay last Monday night. Because I believe this with my heart, that the Cowboys receivers are better than the San Francisco 49ers secondary. And if they get the time to throw the football like they had against Tampa on Monday night, you will see some big plays from this offense.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. It's that simple. I mean, because every coach I've talked to, every show that I've been on where a guy like a Michael Lombardi, guys that study these games and stuff like that, the one thing that everybody's saying is block their front. You can make plays on the secondary. We saw some big plays in the Seattle game last week. Seattle just wasn't able to maintain. They weren't able to maintain any type of momentum that they got. So with that, I feel like that, find a way, control this front, make sure the tackles are secure, but make sure you have a plan for Nick Bosa. Every time that Nick Bosa is rushing against Tyron Smith, I'm going to feel pretty good. I think Tyron Smith after Monday night, came back to that level that we've seen him play at. And, he had one of his worst games of the season last year against these guys.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of feel like, though, that you talk about the redemption game.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those games for Tyron Smith and playing with that kind of that power and that toughness that we've seen from him before.
I absolutely love it. All right, we go inside the numbers, brought to you by Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. Better ingredients, better pizza. It is Papa John's. And how about this? As we look at this Niner offense and this rookie quarterback who's done a heck of a job stepping in as a 7th-round rookie, Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy has done his thing. There's no question about it. He's got a great play caller and play designer in Kyle Shanahan. He's got a litany of weapons to choose from. But when he's pressured off of blitzes, Broadus, and that's what I want to look at today. Dan Quinn and this defense has done a great job stunting with their front four all season. Micah Parsons in this pass rush has gotten home oftentimes without needing the blitz. But I do see that when Purdy is pressured off of blitzes, he goes to 18th in the sport when it comes to expected points added on a per attempt basis, 26th in success rate, and 43rd in yards per attempt out of 47 quarterbacks. He's not the same. He's young. He's got fresh eyes, okay? So when you can confuse him and he doesn't see the blitz and you get home with some pressure, he becomes a different quarterback.
No, absolutely. And I know talking to some folks that cover the Cowboys that were in the locker room this week, Aisha Morrison, who's I love the way she covers the team. I mean, she goes in there and gets some outstanding information. I was visiting with her about some things, and the players seem to feel like that they have a really good plan for how they want to get Brock Purdy to move around a little bit in this football game, and and maybe get him not to feel not as comfortable. Maybe moving him to his left. We've talked about how do you get putting, say, Parsons and then Lawrence on the same side. Babe Laufenberg says, hey, I'm not going to waste any rushes over on the Trent Williams side. But, okay, maybe it's you turn into you got, like I was talking about with Lawrence, Parsons off the McGlinchey, the right side, maybe slot blitz coming the other way, but force this quarterback to have to move around, make some throws going to his left. That could be a little bit problematic for him. So it sounds like, again, talk to some people that really know about this team, cover this team. The Cowboys have a good idea of how they want to attack this, but that's the whole idea. You attack it, but are you good enough to execute the plan? Are you good enough to tackle well when given the opportunity? And when you get home on a rush, you can't let this guy escape from you. You got to find a way. If you hit him, get him on the ground. Don't let him escape. Don't let him scramble and kind of beat you, that way running the ball. He's not going to want to run a whole heck of a lot, but don't let him run when he has the opportunity.
Feel good that the Cowboys can stop the rushing attack here?
It's
or at least slow it down, minimize it.
Yeah, but the run comes in a lot of different ways with McCaffrey and
use check,
and the ball's going to the perimeter. It's the outside runs. It's the tosses. It's the downhill plays. In these games where it turns into a physical running game, Leighton Vander Esch has had some career games against teams that's now. The Cowboys have had some games where they've lost, where Leighton has had double-digit tackles. The Denver game comes to mind, where the way Denver ran the football. Last year, the Cowboys, they gave up 150 yards rush. I think it's going to be different just because of the fact, though, that with Hankins in there, Vander Esch in there, Wilson in there, we'll see how healthy Curse is playing this football game. That could be something we need to clearly keep an eye on as well.
We're 50 minutes to kickoff. Let's go live to Levi's Stadium and welcome in Brad Sham, the voice of the Cowboys, his exclusive one-on-one with Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy. That is coming up next. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. We're 45 minutes to kick off. We're about to throw it over to the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham, standing by with Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy for today's Coach's Corner. But all eyes are on Brett Maher, as we know, Broadus. And that includes the eyes of Cowboys owner and general manager Jerry Jones, as we're getting some still shots from Levi Stadium, courtesy of our guy Bobby Belt, where it looks like Jerry, doing his pregame walk around, and he stopped by Maher and Anger, the punter / holder, and had a few words. I imagine some words of encouragement there from Cowboys owner Jerry Jones. So he's watching it too. We're all watching. It's a bit windy at Levi Stadium. Hopefully as the sun goes down, the wind will settle down. But that's going to be a topic of conversation. There's no question about it. Let's go live to Levi Stadium right now, where Brad Sham is standing by with Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy.
Fellas, thanks very much. A beautiful day in the Bay Area. Beautiful day for a divisional playoff game. Do you get more excited each step that you take?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is what we all live for. I mean, this is why we work the way we work, and the commitment that everybody has to one another. But yeah, this is doesn't get much more exciting than this. So I have the opportunity to come out here and play the 49ers for a divisional round. The history of it, but we definitely view this as a heavyweight battle.
All right, short week. You're unbeaten this year. You haven't lost a game on a short week. So clearly the plans that you have in place to handle that in advance have all worked. Why is that? Why are you so good at it?
Well, I think it's a couple things. I mean, you have to have a plan, but, I think like anything in life, plans are good, but systems are what makes it different, and from the standpoint of training and getting everything done. But most important part is the players doing the extra things, and taking care of themselves, and just the basics. I mean, it's for as simple as, hey guys, let's make sure we're getting more sleep this week. It's a 3-hour flight. Let's drink 4 bottles of water. I noticed you weren't drinking any water on the plane, but
yeah, I was drinking nothing but water on the plane.
All right, just checking you, but. No, just things like that, and you can see their energy was definitely, the challenge Wednesday and Thursday, coming off of a Monday night. But I really like the way we practiced yesterday, and the meetings and everything. So we're ready to go.
I'm going to ask you to do a little glossary explanation for the people listening. You talk a lot about games being decided by big plays, and that there will be big plays in every game. Most fans, I think, Mike, when they hear big plays, they think of long pass plays and long runs and defending them. But there's more to big plays in your glossary, right?
Oh, definitely. I mean, big plays are, the takeaways obviously play into that. So, any type of play that can change the course of a drive, it really falls under the category of big plays. And what the numbers will tell you, there's normally about 30 of them in a regular season game. It kind of bumps up to probably 33, 34 opportunities, that'll happen in a game. It's just, it's a statistic of that gives you an opportunity to remind the key is not to chase the big plays. They're coming. They're there. Every game has I've never seen a game lower than 28, and I've seen it as high as 38. So just the importance of big plays is you have to have them in the NFL, period, to win, and it's definitely will be a part of this win today.
Quarterback is a subject of great conversation. It's an amazing story, the young man, Purdy, what he's doing. Did you see any of this coming? What's the magic for him?
I tell you what, number one, he's a young man. You can tell he's played the position for a long time. He was born to play quarterback. You can see it in his instinct, his awareness. You got to appreciate his enthusiasm and confidence that he's playing with. But at the end of the day, every game is its own, reality, and we have an approach to their whole offense. I mean, he's running a very dynamic offense systematically, personnel-wise, and it's an established offense. Obviously, Kyle's been here for a number of years, so but he's doing it at a very high level.
Their offense and their defense essentially are the same as when you met them last year, right? Essentially.
I wouldn't say that. I think that they've gone in some tendencies-wise, or as far as what they're doing. But defensively, you're still seeing a lot of movement. I mean, that'll be a big challenge up front for us. Their stunts and their movement ability, I think they do that very, very well. but they're still playing a lot of vision defense, doing a really good job taking the ball away because of that. So they're physical. Offense, it's the ability for their run game to really stretch your C gaps and challenge your force. And, I think Christian McCaffrey makes them even more dynamic because now you got two guys that they can play with, as far as the versatility between him and Debo. So, let's not forget about their tight ends. So they got key players at every position, and and I think the most important thing is they're playing very well as a football team. So they're on about a 10-11 week rule right now, and so that's our opponent today.
There's an old adage that it's not how many big plays, not by your definition, but long plays that you make, but how few mistakes you make. There are some coaches who follow that. Do you subscribe to that theory?
Well, it's definitely part of the big play curriculum. I mean, you don't want to give anything over the top. I mean, that's I don't think you'll ever go to a pass coverage meeting or anything that won't talk about that and the ability to to play the receivers and are they heavy within breaking routes, or are they heavy without breaking routes? All those things are really part of that philosophy.
Okay, you're clearly they're a good team. Clearly you're a good team, but I sense a confidence in your players, in your coaching staff, that's almost tangible. Why do you think you all are so confident today?
Well, we're confident in who we are and what we've gone through, and our ability to play, and we've been on the road for seems like 6 months, so this is just another day. But no, I mean we feel like we're in that groove, and we've had a lot of experience of the up and down challenges of different schedules and so forth, and with that you have to have a lot of discipline to do that, and I think our guys have done that. But at the end of the day, it's about the 48 that play, the 48 that are across the white lines, and if we feel like we have the opportunity to be the better team today.
I'm lifting my water bottle to another road game. Have fun today.
All right, thank you, Brad. Appreciate it.
Mike McCarthy, fellas, back to you.
Thank you, Brad Sham. And today's Coach's Corner brought to you by Ford, built for Texas, built for you, and Lincoln, the official luxury vehicle of the Dallas Cowboys. True luxury that transports you to experience the power of sanctuary for yourself and see the full Lincoln lineup. Head to your local Lincoln retailer or visit Lincoln.com. Is this a game, Broadus, where you feel like McCarthy here in the chess match with him and Shanahan, is he going to be coaching this game? He's going to be ready to risk it all today.
Yeah, I think so. I think that, Mike understands. He talks about it being a confident team. I like the fact he's talking about the level of how they practice. It's tough coming off a Monday night game, a physical game, an emotional game. But, yeah, I think he's a guy that you have to be ready for it today. He is going to maybe play this a little bit unconventionally. And you know what? If that's the way it goes, because he's been right the majority of the year going for it on these fourth downs.
Yeah.
I cringe every time thinking, man, I'd punt it here and play defense. But he's found a way. They've had good play calls. It happened last week in the game to pass the CeeDee Lamb with a wide open, look there. I just kind of feel like, though, that Mike's on a little bit of roll when his game management stuff.
Yeah, and especially with the kicking situation being what it is, you could see them maybe going for two, maybe going for more fourth downs than what they would have in the past. And so that's going to be certainly a fun storyline to monitor, the chess match between Shanahan and McCarthy, the two head coaches, and then, of course, the chess match between Shanahan and Dan Quinn, who are very familiar with each other, both running their own respective sides of the ball there. So that's going to be hugely exciting. Who's the one defender? We know Micah Parsons. He's goated. He's the guy. We know we need a monster game. Who's the other defender you want to see? Hey, you step up, good things happen today.
A couple of guys there. I think with Leighton Vander Esch would be number one. I think Donovan Wilson's the second guy.
Love it.
I think you need to find a way. Is this a game where you can create a turnover? We've seen Curse in the Jacksonville game create a turnover. Who is going to get that tackle that's going to knock the ball out of Christian McCaffrey's hands, knock the ball out of Brandon Ayuk's hands, knock the ball out of Brock Purdy if he's running? Who is going to be that guy? I think Donovan Wilson's the guy that has that play for you today.
I love it, man. I absolutely love Donovan Wilson. He's got that dog in him. He's a physical tone setter. And in a game like this versus a physical team, those are the kind of guys you want. Those are the kind of guys you need. Let's go ahead and pause 10 seconds for stations to identify themselves along the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas Fort Worth.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Here we go. 35 minutes to a Cowboy kickoff. Let's go into the owner's box and hear from Jerry Jones. Coming up next, Dallas Cowboys football. We'll continue in a moment. opportunity.
I hope I'm complete.
I hope your dead balls are
That
on.
was always something when I was in the league we always were very mindful of. Like
if a Saturday road team won, you're like, gosh dang it.
Yeah,
you got no chance now.
Yeah, you just kind of like, the football god's going to let it happen today. But Dallas is ready. San Francisco is ready. This should be a very, very good. Give Cincinnati, though, a lot of credit for going to Buffalo. And, Buffalo, a lot of things, they're going to look at their season for as many wins as they had and how well they played. There's some things that kind of fell apart for them at the end of the season. They went through a lot of adversity, not only with the situation with Hamlin, but, they had to play a game in Detroit because of a snowstorm. They had a shooting earlier in the year, with some people that, that was like a mass shooting in Buffalo. I mean, that city has had to really, really endure a lot.
No question about it. All right, we're about 30-plus minutes to a Cowboy kickoff. Let's go live to Levi Stadium and welcome in Christy Scales and get the view from the owner's box with Cowboys owner Jerry Jones.
We're actually out here near midfield for this owner's box. We're watching Brett Maher split the uprights. You just pulled the specialists together and had a little huddle. And what's funny is after speaking with Brett Maher, then Robbie Gould, the 49ers kicker, came up to say hello. We have special guests here.
Owner of our opposing team here.
And this is our owner of the Cowboys.
This is our owner of the 49ers, and we're going back to all the Cowboy fans in the country.
Definitely.
And I want to tell them how much I personally think of you. We get to share on committees together, and we've had a great life in the NFL.
We have a great time. I love Dallas. I love the Hager. Spent a lot of New Year's Eve there with the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah. Well,
you look wonderful. God bless you.
Well, I'll tell you what. This is wonderful to get to play today, isn't it? Yeah. This just brings back a great memory. The games.
Would you like to speak from the 49ers perspective of what it means to have this postseason rivalry renewed and have the Cowboys come here? It's like it's old times.
We're very excited. We're buddies, we're friends. I admire him and his family, and he feels the same about me. We've known each other forever.
And Jerry, what does it mean for the Cowboys to have this renewed with the 49ers?
Well, we've got a very storied competition together, but when I got a chance to think about being in the NFL, one of my role models was her family, and what I had witnessed and their involvement in the 49ers and the success of the 49ers. They had a great inspiration for me to want to be involved with the Cowboys.
Well, we'll let you guys have some fun off here to the side. I'll step out of the way. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for the hospitality.
Okay,
thank you so much. That's the view from the owner's box with the Yorks and the Joneses. And as we continue counting down to kickoff here at Levi Stadium, where you never know what's going to happen when you're standing in the middle of the field pregame, we'll rejoin Brian and Eric.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Christy. Today's view from the owner's box brought to you by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza. It is Papa John's. And how about that, man? It looks like it's quite the party going down there on the field. And we saw tempers flare earlier. Calvin Watkins tweeted it out, and we talked about it a few minutes ago, where you had some Niners guys stepping in front of Maher and Anger and McQuaid, the long snapper, and weird things were kind of going down. And it looks like there was a little bit of drama there where McQuaid, the long snapper, got pushed twice. Brett Maher was trying to warm up. Trent Williams is the one who pushed McQuaid. And then there was an unidentified Niners player who also pushed him. And then Jerry walked up and they had their own little interaction right there. So tempers are already flaring, man. This is going to be so fun.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I say, Bobby was sending us the video, and you wonder if, with the Cowboys, were they supposed to be warming up on the 49ers side? And, where was Robbie Gould here? Was he warming up on your side? I mean, it just didn't seem like anybody was really on board about what was going on here.
Yeah,
when it comes to kicking.
Playing mind games with Maher already.
Yeah, but, it's funny that that Jerry and with Denise York there, the owner, her brother, Eddie DeBartolo, was the owner of the team really during the times when the 49ers were at their with their absolute heyday, and he got in trouble with the league and had to give the team up, and his sister took over the team and all that. And now the young son runs the team.
Hello.
So there's a lot lot of things going on.
A lot of moving parts.
A lot of moving parts, but man, her brother, man, you talk about. I've heard some stories like
ball crusher.
No, like great guy.
Oh wow!
Like
stand-up gentleman.
Like kind of show up and there's like envelopes of money in your locker kind of guy.
Christmas bonus coming early.
He was very much a Christmas. He took the whole organization to Hawaii one time after his Super Bowl. He everybody just come on, let's go. Everything paid for, family. Everybody got to go.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I've heard nothing but great things about the DeBartolo family and stuff like that. I know that's. I probably like to say there's a lot of Louisiana ties there for sure.
Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
well, as the Niners are trying to play a little mind games with our kicker, Brett Maher here, and we get to know the enemy brought to you by Arrow Exterminators, the official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. I look forward to the mind games that Dan Quinn is going to play on young Brock Purdy. I really don't think that Purdy has seen a defense with this level of talent, speed, and the ability to play with a lot of versatility. They have the Cowboys with Curse and Wilson and guys like McQuamu and, of course, Micah Parsons. They just got guys that can do a multitude of different things, and so I'm just excited. The way that they kind of mind bleeped the GOAT Tom Brady last week, where he's on the sideline going, man, I just don't know. I'm seeing things. Jaron Curse intercepts him in the red zone, and Brady hadn't had a red zone interception since he put the Buccaneer uniform on. I think that Dan Quinn is going to show up with a monster scheme today, and he's got the speed and the talent with the players on this defense to really do it pre and post snap, changing things up. And Dallas disguised its looks on 32.5% of their coverage snaps, which is the second most in the league this year. They'll show some man, and then they'll rotate. Here comes cover two, or here comes a bit of an invert situation. Yeah. You can simulate some pressure. You can go to the quarter shell. You can spin the safeties at the snap. I just think they're going to throw the book at Brock Purdy today, and they're going to put him in the spin cycle.
Yeah, the problem that happens, though, I mean, you talk about being put in the spin cycle, but also, though, there's a really outstanding play caller on the other side of the field.
True that.
And he is, you could show a lot of disguise and this, and that, and the other, but he's also going to do stuff to you that you're not conventionally normally see.
Mm-hmm.
The fullback, the tight end, with the way that they play in combination.
No doubt.
Running backs lining up out wide, wide receivers lining up in the backfield. He doesn't play a conventional game either, and that's the pressure that they put on you right there for sure.
22 minutes to a Cowboy kickoff. It is the official pregame party of America's team. Let's welcome in the voice of America's team. We go inside the booth, live from Levi's Stadium. Coming up next, you're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. Oh boy, the butterflies are setting in, ladies and gentlemen. About 15, 20 minutes to a Cowboy kickoff. Levi Stadium, Santa Clara, California, and that's where we head right now. Go inside the booth with the legendary voice of the Dallas Cowboys, Brad Sham, brought to you by WinStar World Casino and Resort, the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. Brad, I got the butterflies, but it sounds like this Cowboys team is feeling confident as hell right now.
So your butterflies are beginning to flutter. Is that what I'm hearing?
The fluttering is starting to take place. Yes, sir.
That's interesting, because mine, I was like that yesterday and maybe this morning, but now it's game day. Now we're settled in, and I will tell you that, as you heard Mike McCarthy say, Eric, this team's confident. Now, whether they have any reason to be, we're fixing to find out, but they think that they are better than they were last year, and San Francisco might be also. You could make a case that they are in some areas, but we're going to find out.
Brad, power rank this. I need to tackle well, or I need to block well. Which one you gonna? Which one? Give me your importance today.
Yeah, tackle well first, because if you don't tackle well, something like close to 60% of their passing yardage, as you well know, Brian, comes after catch. So you got to tackle well. Now you're gonna have to block well too, but we can figure something out. We can figure something out. But if we can't tackle well, we're gonna be running uphill in the mud.
All right, my guy Broadus is saying let's go establish a little alpha dominance here and put Parsons right on Trent Williams. Now, your guy, Babe Laufenberg, says you avoid Williams all day. Where are you at?
Yeah, I don't know necessarily why you would do that. I don't know if you avoid him all day. I think every now and then you can give Williams a little taste, but I don't think I'd start him there. I think I might start him somewhere else. I think they're better. They're different from the playoff game last year at center and both guards, different personnel.
Right.
And I think they're better than they were last year in those places. And McGlinchey, who's a good tackle, was injured that day. He didn't play. So I think their offensive line is better. But wherever they think the weakest link is, I think I'd start Micah there depending on the formation and then move him around. And you don't avoid Trent all day. Give him a little taste. But they'll see each other at Hall of Fame reunions someday. We don't need to spend all our time over that guy.
Yeah, I was trying to set a tone, Brad, is what I was going to try and do. I was going to try and beat him one time off the jump, and maybe because last week in that game, he had that first play was a negative play on the run where they got a -2 or -3. And I kind of like, oh, okay, here we go, kind of thing. So, yeah, that's one of the – but, yeah, I'm with you.
So let me ask you this. Suppose now you have to take Micah's head into consideration.
Sure.
Suppose they do that and Trent Williams just stones him on the first play.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, man. I know how good Trent Williams is, and I know how good Micah Parsons is. I'm going to bet my guy's going to set a tone today. That's if I'm a coach, I'm trusting my guy. But you're right. I mean, yeah, you don't want to get stoned but he's going to have plenty of guys get stoned this game. I have a feeling, the way that Trent Williams plays. He's an outstanding player. He's been that way for a long, long, long time.
Yeah, but I do agree with you that Parsons has a chance to set a tone today, because this is the kind of game. I think we are starting to be familiar enough with him to know that he always wants to play and he always plays hard, but there are some days when his fire burns a little brighter.
Right.
And I think this is one of the really hot fire days. He understands the magnitude of the stage. He understands that the guy on the other side on defense is probably going to win the Defensive Player of the Year award, and I think that he is inspired to be a standout today.
Brad, I'm going to ask you, this is the type of game I think that Leighton Vander Esch thrives in, where it's like a little bit of chess, but a little bit of like, I'm not going to let you run the football today. Could see a big game from number 55.
Totally agree. And they're going to want to run the ball, and the question is whether they're going to start off wanting to try it on the edges, or do they want to try to come right up the gut, and they do it both ways, and they do it very well. But I do think that Vander Esch is a key for whatever Dallas does defensively. Couldn't agree more.
Brad, we appreciate the time as always. Enjoy the game. Let's go get that dub.
All right, fellas, thanks.
Yes, sir. There he goes, legendary voice of the Dallas Cowboys. He is Brad Sham, and now we go from one legend to the next and welcome in Christy Scales live at Levi Stadium. She's brought to you by Pollock Aurora, proud supplier of the Dallas Cowboy. Christy, what are your keys to victory?
Well, for the Cowboys defense, and don't take it from me, take it from defensive coordinator Dan Quinn. He says San Francisco's secret sauce is not only breaking tackles, but it's the finishing elements of the others that allow all of those extra yards after contact and yards after catch. By that, he means they're great at blocking downfield and, the wide receivers and tight ends, everybody being involved. But Quinn says the Cowboys defense has their own secret sauce, and it's team speed and effort. So those two things combined, along with eye discipline, tackling, and leverage. So setting the edge, not letting the guys bounce outside and get yards out there, keep everything inside. That's going to be the key for the Cowboys defense.
Christy, great job of handling that owner's box while they were talking. Did you get a feel about any more feel about Maher?
Well, there was a little chicanery, and you referenced it a little earlier with some head games being played by some by 49ers players trying to kind of get in his sight line and get in his way as he's going through the early part of pregame. But specialist for the Cowboys points out to me that that's not going to work against a guy like Maher. In fact, it may backfire on guys like Deebo Samuel who were pulling that kind of pettiness. That Brett is a guy who's mentally locked in, and so I don't think it'll have any effect. But I tell you one thing, though, the wind is going to be a factor in the kicking game today, not just for Brett Maher and for 49ers kicker Robbie Gould, but with the punters as well. It's swirling. And the thing is, you get the ball high up in the air and it's going to be affected. So it's great weather. It's probably about 60 degrees right now. We're finally in the shade as the sun's starting to set. The grass field is in excellent condition, but the wind is what we're going to have to be mindful of.
Christy, any thought about when you're talking about which direction you want to play first or defend? Is it that kind of a strong wind, or is it just it's something you're just going to have to manage?
It's more, you're going to have to manage it because it's not behind you going one direction.
Okay.
And the way that it is here, there are openings. There are 4 levels to this stadium, but on the southwest side and the northwest side, it's open. It's only one level. So that's why it's so swirling. And anything up high, it just depends. At any moment, it's crosswinds, and you're not going to be able to predict it.
Always appreciate the time, Christy. Appreciate the scoop, and enjoy the game.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, ma'am. There she goes. Cowboys sideline reporter, the legend herself, Christy Scales, as we get set for kickoff just about 15, maybe 10, 15 minutes away here, Bros. We're feeling good right now. What's the vibe here? I'm confident. I'm more confident.
That's your pick. Go ahead.
I'm feeling good right now. I'm feeling good. I'm going 30-26 Cowboys.
Okay.
And the main thing that gives me any sort of pause would be the difference in rest time and time for preparation in this game, where the Niners have almost 8 days of prep. Cowboys traveling across the country with about five or so days of prep. That's the only thing. But otherwise, I think this is a team that they've circled this Niners team. They've wanted this redemption for the last 360 plus days or so. So I feel like they are built for this. They're ready for this. They got the better quarterback, and I think that the bubble's about to burst on Brock Purdy.
There you go. I like what you're saying. I feel like, though, the Cowboys have been on the road a lot with these games, the way the season has ended and stuff. But I will say this, Brad Champ said it the best. They haven't lost a game on short rest yet. So I
Love it. They're built for this thing.
Mike McCarthy's got a plan for this. On all the platforms this week, I've said Cowboys 31, San Francisco 28. I think it's going to be a Brett Maher field goal that gets this thing done at the end.
Oh, yes. How storybook would that be?
Yeah.
Maher getting it done in San Francisco. History is immense between these two franchises. More is to be made in the next few minutes and over the next few hours. We greatly look forward to that. We have halftime with Broaddus and Waldchuk. Brad and Babe and Christy will have you the rest of the way. Kickoff is around the corner, and Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.